Hey guys, I just wanted to do my review and recap of Legends of Tomorrow, Season 3, Episode 15, Necromancing the Stone. I'm once again in a situation in which my Arrowverse reaction videos are getting blocked on YouTube again, and despite the fact that I haven't used more than 10 minutes of footage from the episode. And I don't know. I feel like I don't know if it's kind of being singled out, or is this because of the fact that this is one of the few shows on the network that's airing new episodes during March Madness, so they're just trying to deter people from just simply watching just the reaction videos and deter people from just watching the reaction videos so they can just watch like March Madness games. Probably that's just speculation, but I'm once again back to having to have to I'm once again having I mean I filed a dispute, but I just figured it's better. I'm gonna have to stick to doing um just reviews and recaps rather than reaction videos for a little bit, just to be on the safe side and not to get myself in any more hot water than I already am with copyright strikes. Anyway, like this, and which is also the reason why my reaction video for episode 14 was blocked. So, quick recap of that one. It was better than I thought it would be. I kind of liked how the dynamic that Zari and Wally playing off one another, and I think like they were like a really good matchup. Kind of like how Say like pairing up Mick and Amaya. Kind of like there's like these odd, are kind of like I guess feel like polar opposites, but kind of like bounce off of one another. They like it's it's sort of like I guess like those odd friendships, for lack of better terms, where it feels like there's like a pair up where they feel like the two actors and the characters play off of one another. Is the same with like Wally and Zari, and I didn't have a problem with the guy who played Elvis Presley. And like I don't know enough about Elvis and his mannerisms outside of his singing, outside of just outside of his whatever like old footage of his performances to see if he actually got it, if it was 100% accurate. But yeah, it had to have a kind of like very footloose feel with like the misguided uncle as a preacher and having him arrest like having his nephew and Nate and Amaya thrown in jail because he thought the music was evil, just because how the preacher and Footloose thought that dancing was sinful and harmful to the town. And there's very much a mix of like Sixth Sense and Footloose, and fun little episode. Kind of silly how, and the whole thing with Mick reacting to Axel dying. It was just more of a kind of like a bigger picture thing, how he's just not getting used to change and like losing people like Jax and Stein and Snart. And it was kind of like a cute little way of like kind of addressing him, just at least like, oh, Mick has this finally able to have some like proper closure with somebody who passed away, that he cared about. And um but at the same time, it doesn't really hold much of a candle compared to an episode like this, Necromancing the Stone, which ended up being a really awesome episode. Uh, I liked how they were able to try to like split up the team. They split up the teams ended up having to split up because of the fact that the cracks in time were supposed to be getting worse, and when while it was trying to get an explanation of like how bad, what the worst case scenario would be if they failed to stop all the anachronisms. And while it was like, oh, so it's kind of like Flashpoint, and Ray's like, oh, is that what we're calling what Barry did? No, it's like something similar to that, and it's like, no, Ray, based on what you explained, is much worse when you said it was going to be like a smoothie where you had to have like Genghis Khan and Napoleon like all at war all in like one time period. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess like it'll be kind of similar to, I don't know if anybody's watched like Justice League Unlimited, like the Once and Future thing, that two-parter where the Justice League went to like the Batman Beyond future, and they stopped, and like time was imploding on itself. So it's something like, I think it's something like that's what they're afraid is supposed to be happening. They try to split up the teams to tackle multiple anachronisms at once. I liked it was a funny bit about how Mick wasn't in the like the I guess like the main like the main like the main deck, and like Wally sped off to go and like dress him and bring him there, and he was just kind of like traumatized because he had to dress Mick in a robe because he was like he sleeps in the nude. And but of course like Wally was like run, like sped off before like Zari could like warn Wally about that. And it was and so yeah, the Death Totem ends up calling to Sara, or at least Mollis ends up calling to Sara to take possession of the Death Totem, to the point where there's like a manifestation as Sara as the Canary, like before like a mind controlled Thea killed her, and she ends up being possessed by Mollis, and she basically ends up looking like a cross between Silver Banshee from Supergirl and Rose McIver from iZombie. And she starts like trapping everybody inside the ship, and like taking them out one by one. First with Wally by using like manifesting itself at himself as Jesse. And Wally's saying that I'm glad you broke my heart. I was able to travel the world, find some inner peace, make new friends, and I'm not gonna find somebody else that won't be you. Especially when Mollis took that pot shot, saying it's like, oh, about saying how like, oh, because his relationship with Jesse didn't work out because she was a genius, and he was just like a speed junkie with a drug addict mom. But it was cool, but it's an interesting callback to, but when Mollis wasn't when Wally was saw through what Mollis was doing, is when Mollis had used the combination of the anti-speedster gun that Jax used on Thawne in the season 2 mid-season finale, and his telekinesis to basically incapacitate Wally, and then he tried to manifest himself as Zari's brother, and even though she was able to see through she was basically still had to fight with a Mollis possessed Sara, in which she ended up losing the fight, was knocked unconscious, trying to disconnect the jump ship from the Wave Rider as their means to escape, because Mollis shut down Gideon and trapped everybody on the Wave Rider. And so when Ava was contacting Sara and tried to figure out and realize what was going on, she took Gary and went to seek out Constantine. And it was funny how much Constantine actually took a quick liking to Gary, and this whole spiel about how he's like how the legends remind him of his Dungeons and Dragons group, and how I like how they juxtapose like different characters as different members to the different roles that members of Gary's group played in on his little on his like little on his in the game, and ended up like having this like eureka moment for Constantine, in which he basically kissed Gary on the lips, which he was like grinning ear to ear for. Ava was kind of just like trying to hold back a smile, because I think because I love those like little moments where it's like you can tell where like the actors are probably trying to like maintain their composures, but like they kind of can't, and the best they can do is maintain a smile, but they leave the take in anyway. It just makes it feel a little bit more it makes like the moments feel like more genuine when directors do that. And Sara is basically in this in Mollis's plane, while like while while she was being possessed. It kind of reminded me of I guess like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX season 3, where a similar scenario happened with Supreme King and the main antagonist of that show, Jaden. And it turns out on that plane, she ended up meeting the Nora, like an adult Nora, saying that that she blames Oliver for what happened to her father. Like, and Sarah says that it wasn't Oliver's fault that you chose the path that you did. And they ended up having a reliving a moment from Sarah's past in which she was where she like killed a guy by like throwing a knife at him, and then like his like little. And he told me that he was like a father, like because like a little girl, like his daughter, just came running in and seeing and finding the body, and this is a very like an obscure callback, which I don't know how many people remember, but just as a reminder, this is this, and the guy was saying is like, if you just let me go, Roz doesn't have to know that Roz doesn't have to know that if you don't, you just let me go. Roz doesn't have to know whether or not you actually killed me. This is like the assignment in which a League of Assassins assignment in which Roz sent Sarah to kill this guy, who it turns out was a father, and it kind of reminded her, it made her feel guilty, and also brought back memories of being like homesick and being away from, Quentin and her own family. And it's also and that was like the assignment that was kind of like the last straw for Sarah, which caused her to leave Nissa and the League of Assassins, and why she showed up again in Arrow season 2. So that's so yeah. So that's like so like not everybody's gonna remember that, because like it was a while, like obviously it was like a 4 year it was like reference for like 4 or 5 years ago, and not everybody's been watched every Arrowverse show, but that's just like a little FYI in case nobody understood the reference, like the significance of that. And also, it kind of gives a little bit more context for why Sarah's so unforgiving for herself for, I guess, being a killer, and probably hasn't made as much peace with that in the same way that Oliver, to the extent that Oliver has. But then again, she didn't want to go down the path that Nora was going down, in which she tempted her into letting, you can't change your past, but you can, like, if you give yourself over to the power of Mullis, like I have, that you can let go of like pain and guilt and whatnot. Which now it officially confirms that between this and the trailer for next week, it's kind of official that Damien bit off more than he can chew, because now it's like, I think Mullis has fully taken over Nora at this point, and but then she's decided that it's like, no, she wasn't willing to, like, she has like self-loathing, but it's like she won't be willing to go that far to basically, like, make a deal with the devil just to let go of that pain, like Nora did, which is how she was able to like fully break free of control from Mullis once they get the death totem. Once they get the death totem off, and because he tried like different things again in people's heads, like even like manifesting as Nate's grandfather, Commander Steel, about making him feel guilty for letting his grandfather sacrifice himself back in season 2, to trying to take on the voice of Astra, that little girl that Constantine, I think, accidentally failed to save, but he wasn't falling for it. But using the cross and like holy water wasn't doing the trick. But the combination of Ava reaching out to Sarah, and also I think after Mick's heat gun was destroyed, being able to wield the fire totem after Ray was able to like reconstruct it using the cold fusion info they got from the scientist in 313, that she would be able to regain control. And it was kind of cool, to see, always interesting to see, even though he's a comic relief and kind of just like gruff kind of guy, that to see, make it this kind of like, be kind of this great, be kind of this like reluctant hero and always like step up to the plate when push comes to shove most of the time. And I mean, but I guess like I guess the one thing, the couple of things that bothered me was the fact that it was just like there was this one scene where Amaya was willing to, Maya said we had to get to the fire totem. It's our last shot against Mullis, and she says like, "Oh, and I thought going to the jump ship was a bad idea," and it was like, it's weird because like she had that whole like her whole like episode centered around her, whereas like 311, where it's just like she grew closer to the team, and it was just so it was kind of weird that she was willing to like kind of figure like, oh, it's a futile plan. We just got to get the hell away from Sara, when she was so willing to like sacrifice herself in that simulation. But at the same time, it's like Sara did give the team the okay to say, if Mullis takes control of me again, you should kill me if it comes down to it. So my feelings about that are just kind of mixed as to whether or not how much that really goes against the character development she's had. I mean, it doesn't. I don't think it does it too much, but still had mixed feelings about it. And then there was also the Sara decided, even though Constantine says like, oh, this is the reason why I've been going solo for a while, is because he doesn't want to let people know like how lost I am. But she says, hold on to your team, hold on to Ava. But it seems like the advice didn't really stick, because she ends up like I don't know, maybe Nora got into her head more than it seems, because Sara just decides that like basically breaks up with Ava, almost like it's like for the same reasons that she dumped Oliver. It's like, I'm always going to be a killer. You deserve better than somebody who's never going to be anything more than that. And it just seemed like it's kind of, and it's like, I mean, it was kind of really insensitive that like, oh, we can fight that side of you together, but that line from Ava, but it just feels like just kind of pointless relationship drama. Like, it's like they kind of like just hooked up, and now it's like you're just breaking them up just because it's like, and I don't know, maybe it's because of like the episode next week where we get to find out if maybe based on the promos, if Ava's like a robot or some kind of clone, or because it seems like their show is going to be cribbing from the, I guess, the LMD arc from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. For my theory. And then, and one other note is that I think like the whole shtick with, Gary kind of playing off of Constantine, getting him in the dungeon, getting Constantine into Dungeons and Dragons, and also I don't know. I never really was like a biggest fan of Gary, but he's kind of been like winning me over. He's kind of like won me over more in this episode, because like I've seen like the whole like nebbish, ineffectual like government guy before, or like nebbish, ineffectual guy at his job, but he kind of really like won me over in this episode, and it's just kind of ironic how much Constantine like likes the idea, would prefer to fly solo, but then it's like it's confirmed that should this show get picked up for a season 4, he's actually contracted to be Matt Ryan, to be a regular, and actually join the crew. So we'll see. So that's all my thoughts about the show. I mean, what do you guys think of it? What are your predictions for next week? What is your favorite moment? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.